I'm originally from Pakistan. I came to the United States to go to college. I went to engineering school at Cornell University on the East Coast. I did my engineering physics degree at Cornell, and after that actually went to work on Wall Street. Then went to business school. I first came to California in the mid-90s to go to business school at Stanford. I'm a Stanford GSB graduate. I've worked at Cisco Systems for a long time. I ran corporate development there for a while on a global basis. My first visit to China was when I was working at Cisco in 2002. And then I have been a venture capitalist since 2005. And I do early stage venture capital now, and I'm now started Moment Ventures a couple of years ago with my partner Clint. One of the things that I think is very important in venture capital is to understand people and work with people. And I think that is something that has happened throughout my career, not just at Cisco. From the beginning of my life, or beginning of my working career, it's that ability to connect people together and have them build something bigger. That is very important. And that was something I saw at Cisco, but I've also seen in my venture capital career and also seen in my prior professional roles. So I think that has been a very important element. I think the other thing was also, for me, is seeing how very determined people with good technology and good ideas and strong leadership skills can change things. And that is something that is not just at Cisco, it's also everywhere that I've seen. When I see successful entrepreneurs, they are very good at combining the strengths of their team and their technology and what is happening in the market to make a great company. And that was something I've learned in all my different professional lives. And as we started to invest our money, so we wanted to start a venture capital fund, and we started to invest money, we realized that we were starting to meet some very interesting entrepreneurs who were trying to solve very big problems using technology. So I'd say, why infrastructure of everything? I will tell you, the first place it starts is when you are in the market and you meet these great entrepreneurs and you see what they're doing, and then you start to connect the dots. You see one entrepreneur doing something here, you see somebody else doing something here, then you see somebody else talking about this area, and you start to connect all those dots and you say something big is happening here. So that was the first reason. And then as we started to look at the opportunities and dig into them, we realized that society has some very big problems ahead of it, whether it is demographics or global warming or the growth of cities, or whether, aging population and how to reinvent work for people. There's some very big problems that modern societies are dealing with, whether it's in the United States or Europe or China or other parts of Asia, Africa. So we said there's some very big problems, and then we realized that the world of technology was also changing. And what we realized was, now what was happening in the technology business was computing was becoming integrated into the physical world. So for us, we said, there's big problems, and there's technology that is being integrated into this new world in an interesting way. And finally, we have these entrepreneurs who are telling us that this is what they're doing. And that is how we developed the thesis around infrastructure of everything. It is really those 3 or 4 things: the entrepreneurs, the big problems, and then the technology ingredients to solve these big problems. And that's what got us excited. So I have probably been involved in about, I would say, as a venture capitalist, probably 25 investments, 10 in my prior career at Alloy, 15 here at Moment, so 25 there. And then before that at Cisco, there was many investments, over 100 investments that my team did, some of which that I was involved with very closely, some of them that were, when my team made the investment and I was involved in the diligence process or the decision, but I wasn't directly involved. So I have been around startups for a very long time. Currently, I am very, very excited about what's going on in our Moment Ventures portfolio, because I think, again, these entrepreneurs and these problems are very exciting to me. We have a company right now that is trying to solve some very big problems in the space of education. It's a company called Swing Education that is helping schools find a very important human resource, which is substitute teachers. A substitute teacher is a teacher that comes in and teaches a school classroom when the regular teacher cannot be there. And it is not an easy problem because there's a lot of regulation involved. There's also a need to have people available when you need them. And second, and finally, it has to be done in a seamless and effective way because schools don't wait. If somebody needs a teacher, they need them that morning or the next day. It cannot take a long time, so it has to work very well. And our company is doing a very nice job. It is a young company. We're one of the biggest investors, and they're helping do that because they have a team that just got it right so far. They have a passion for fixing the problem. They come from the education space. The key founder comes from the education space. And he said, this is a problem, and I'm going to go solve this problem because I'm a technologist and I have other friends of mine who are technologists. And he and his co-founder started the company, and it's doing a great job. So I really like that company because big problem, technology, smart entrepreneur, right? The three things that I mentioned earlier to you are all present in that business. So that's very exciting to me. There's two or three things that are very important. One is, what is the problem that this startup is trying to solve? And that problem is really, in some ways, defines the market opportunity. Because if it's a big problem, then there's a big market opportunity. So it's very important to make sure that you accurately and effectively analyze the market, not just what they're doing today, but what the company can do in the future. And if the company tells you the market is 100, maybe it's really only 10, and you have to be able to come to your own assessment of that. So that idea of what is the problem is very important. The second thing is the people. The team that is there, the people who are going to build that startup are the most important people. You asked me what, and I think I answered earlier, what is one of the things that I've learned? It's how to work with people and understand people and assess people, and who is going to be able to do what they say they want to do. You know, it's very easy in today's world to have big ideas. How do you actually implement them depends on the people. And finally, of course, technology is very important because some of these companies, you could not solve them, build these problems unless they had some great technology. And that is a big opportunity and big set of issues to think about. So those are the 2-3 things I spend a lot of time thinking about. I generally, first of all, always start from the problem and the market, because if that's big, then there's some things that you can solve there. So I think one of the things that's really important is that if you think about innovation, that is the first thing you think about. Are the ingredients there for innovation? Are there problems that need innovative solutions? And I think from that basis, just as I outlined for our overall sector, I think there's a lot of need for innovation because of these big problems and because of these new technologies. And so I think from that fundamental basis, I think it's a terrific time to be looking at venture capital and early stage investing, because the needs for things to change and the needs for new ways of doing things is very, very high. In your country, in the United States, in Europe, there are these big problems. So from a fundamental point of view, I feel like the need for innovation in venture capital is very high. Secondly, I see the entrepreneurs that we see today, this generation of younger professionals is very dynamic. They want to solve big problems. They really want to, and they really have this desire to do that. And that is very exciting. I think never underestimate the power of belief and ideas and idealism. And I think that's very powerful in this group of entrepreneurs that we see these days, and we like that very much. The tricky part about the venture capital business is I'm not the only person who thinks that. There's lots of other people with money and capital and ideas that are trying to address these problems, and not just attracted by innovation. And also, one thing that's very different today is some of the largest companies in the world are technology companies today. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. You know, the biggest companies were the oil and gas companies or the banks. But if you look at the US markets today, and I assume it's all the same in other places in the world, the biggest companies are Amazon and Apple and Google and Facebook. It wasn't that way before. So I think that's a very big reason why there's so much interest in venture capital. So I think the negative, or not the negative is the wrong word, but I think the thing I am concerned about or stay focused on is make sure that we are looking at ideas that not everybody is looking at, and being very thoughtful about where we make our investments, because I think when there's so many people in these markets, sometimes it's very important to make sure that you are thinking creatively and also in a very focused way about where you invest your money. I was in China this summer, and from little I saw that I from what little I read or saw or talking to people, there is a huge thirst to continue to drive growth in China and improvement in people's living standards and quality of life, and very ambitious plans for how China is going to connect to the rest of the world with different initiatives, and all of that will need innovation, because innovation is what's going to allow the country to improve its quality of life and quality of living for all of its citizens. And I think there's opportunities for Chinese companies not only to bring innovation to their citizens in China, but China is a factory for the world. So if Chinese companies understand innovation well and can do it, then they can sell that technology in these huge markets in Africa and Asia and Europe and North America, because they already are selling technology into those markets. So if Chinese companies are serious about the opportunities with innovation, I think there's a great opportunity for them. And I certainly think the government and the leadership is very focused on innovation. That is a good thing. I am very excited about this opportunity with Moment 500, simply because I believe that in this century you're going to see China and the United States continue to be the two biggest economies of the world. The opportunity to partner with Mark and the team at 500, I think is exciting for me, because I want to see how some of the companies and innovations that we see here can impact the lives of people and in China and other parts of the world. And I think that relationship with 500 will help us do that. I mean, some of the investors that you're going to have, some of the entrepreneurs that you know and will be part of the 500 story, I think it'll make us much stronger at the Moment 500. I think we understand Silicon Valley and innovation in Silicon Valley and startups and the entrepreneur and VC environment very well. It is something we have a lot of experience in, professional experience and venture capital experience. So that's what we bring, and I think what 500 brings is this strong network and understanding of China and Chinese business. First of all, the returns for the investors, I think, from China are going to be very strong, because the innovation opportunities I see here are extraordinary. But I also think that will help our investors in the United States as well, because you will help open doors to Chinese acquirers or Chinese companies or Chinese customers for some of our technologies, and that's going to be very important. So for me, it's 1 + 1 = 5,000. 500. 1 + 1 = 500. I think there's a very big opportunity for both sides, and for 500 Moment to be a very strong player. I'm, as I like to say, in the venture capital business, you have to be a professional optimist. So I'm a professional optimist, but I'm very optimistic about China. I'm very optimistic about technology, and I think the opportunity to bring those two big forces together to create change and make good things happen is very high.